my name is Jude Menes. I was born in Nigeria. I am Nigerian from Anambra State, part of Nigeria. I have been here for 32 years now in the US.
Hello and welcome to Obehi podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with today's episode. I'm a lawyer. I attended Western Michigan University Law School. It's called Thomas Cooley Law School. I graduated and have been in Dallas, Texas, practicing since then. I have worked in various places. My first job was I worked in one of those so-called large, prominent law firms. It was a firm of about 200 and something lawyers. When I left there, I became an assistant city attorney for Dallas, Texas. I did that for a number of years. Then I decided to set up my own firm called Menes Law Firm. When after some time, I saw an opportunity to do more. And so I think I'm doing more now. That is interesting, sir. It's very, very interesting. I think it's what you call, at the end of the day, give back, that the society give you opportunity to become who you are. Then at a point, you sort of also try to give back to that society. In that sense, I'm, of course, looking at Nigeria because I understand as of the last time we talked that you have a lot of dealings in Nigeria. You do a lot of representation there. But before we get there just now, I'm still a little bit curious as to why would you even choose law instead of many other things that you could have done. Is there anything that led you to that?
That's the thing. I've always, I guess, in life, you got to know where you fit in. Right from the time I was a kid, I've always figured that where I fit in is in the field of law. One, I know that I want to be a professional. So whatever I'm going to study has to be a profession. And two, I knew that I wasn't smart enough to be an engineer or a medical doctor or a rocket scientist.
I'm not going to agree with you on that.
I knew I wasn't smart enough for that, but I knew that I am pretty good at analyzing things. I'm pretty good at looking at things critically. So from very young age, I became interested in law. I remember really when I was quite young, I used to go to the high courts in Nigeria and just sit there and watch what was going. It's very interesting. When I think of it now, I'm like, wow. And I can't even remember how old I was then, but it's got to be like 10 years old or something. I would come home from primary school and just go to the law high courts. That's what they call it. And I just sit there and I just watch and and of course I was enamored by the wig and gown and the way lawyers, especially in our neck of the wood in Nigeria, shout and all that stuff. To be quite honest, when I came to the US and realized that lawyers were not wearing wig and gown, and they were not shouting, I was kind of disappointed. But I said, well, it is what it is. I was disappointed because I was looking forward to wearing the wig and gown and also shouting stuff like, I put it to you, my Lord, jumping up and down, just like everybody sees on TV. But I said, well, I realized quite quickly that here, law is different. The process is different. Everything is different, and I realized also that the idea that lawyers love to argue is not quite the true representation. I think that it's wrong to say lawyers love to argue. I think that really the average lawyer who really knows what he's doing avoids argument, avoids conflict, because like they say, if you are fighting, you are wasting your client's money and time. If you can resolve it as quickly as possible, you save your client money, your client benefits, and you move on to make the next money. Yeah, yeah. I remember that the most wasteful times I have spent as a lawyer has been the times that I have to just sit in court waiting for my case to be called. I mean, you just sit there. I mean, you can't really say you are preparing for the case because you've done all the preps before you get there. But because there are a line of cases before you, you just have to sit. So you are burning time. And I always tell people, I say, look, forget about the fact, people think, oh, the most wonderful lawyer is the one that spends time in court. I said, forget about that. You're spending time in court, you are burning time. You are not really making money because your client is not paying you to sit there to listen to other things and stuff, So anyway, that's it.
One of the risks also of this type of podcast is that we don't like prepare and say, I'm going to ask you question A, then question B, and then just begin to tell me. We just really flow here.
No, it's good.
The risk is that we just talk about things that are really important to us. Now, I remember that should be a couple of months ago now. I did an interview where we talked about lawfare and warfare as a way of dispossessing Africans of their resources. Of course, that argument was pretty long, as it were. Mm-hmm. Maybe we might not need to go there just now. Mm-hmm. Also, because since you made mention of the way law operates in Nigeria, okay, lawyer go on with all their big legal luminaries and all those high grammar and shouting and all that. We might even try to attempt to ask the question, what kind of law are we even operating in Nigeria? Things like that. Anyway, of course, it is left for you if you want to.
I will, because it always amazes me when I go to Nigeria, and that's why one of the reasons why I have so far been playing a watch and see game as to whether I want to become licensed in Nigeria, because it always amazes me that after so many years of independence, it seems like our system is still really stuck in the way the British left us. I'm not quite sure why. Okay, for instance, in Nigeria, just like in other British countries, they have this hierarchy that a lawyer who is licensed today his case will not be called immediately. The ones licensed before, like the so-called senior advocates, must be called first. And they have where they sit and all that stuff, and you have to do some kind of apprentice. And I look at it, I'm like, it's not necessary. The fact that I was licensed last year does not make my client's case any more smaller than the case of the sale called the SAM. You see what I'm saying? So I think that when they do that, they are really, it's really the clients that suffer. And then there is also one thing, Nigeria, just like in most British colonized countries, still have this law against champ party and stuff. Now, in the US, freedom of speech entails that there is freedom of commercial speech. That means that in any profession you are, including law, you can go out and advertise and say, look, this is what I do. You need a lawyer. Come on, I'll help you. Nigeria, they still don't have that. And I think it's really punishing young lawyers a lot because, look, getting clients is not an easy thing. I believe that if you allow young lawyers to go out and source and advertise for clients, you are also giving them opportunity to learn. Now, you can always say, just like they say in the US, if you have a case that you are not familiar with, then liaise with somebody who is familiar with it so that you make sure you are doing the right thing. They can always have that law. But in Nigeria, it's a no-no. You cannot advertise. It's very, I don't even know that I've come across any Nigerian lawyer who got out of law school like this year and went on to establish their own law practice like the same year. So far I haven't seen. So I think that I think it's a disservice to the society, because those young lawyers can as well represent a lot of people. And usually, really, to be honest with you, I think that sometimes those young lawyers are more daredevil than the older ones, because the older ones are more careful, they are more particular about the cases they take, and they are more particular about the arguments they make. But the younger ones, they're pretty much, they see a bright light in every case, and they'll pretty much just make arguments that will test the law. And, hey, let's see. I mean, the fact that the law has always been this for 50 years does not mean that it has to stay. The society is changing. Let's make a different argument and see whether it will work. Anyway, that's it.
Mm-hmm. And since we are talking of that, I will have one or two things to really ask in terms of this law, because since in Nigeria, just like in many other African countries, a law is not something that is very simple even for us to understand. We don't understand it very well, how it functions. So I might therefore be tempted to ask, maybe I'm going to ask the question again in another form.
Mm-hmm.
What is even the basis of our law, the law that we are using? What is it based on? Because, for example, you were making mention of the United States just now, mm-hmm. where even the way the lawyers dress is different from the way the lawyers dress in the United Kingdom. But it doesn't mean that they are not working because you dress differently, no?
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, for example, got independence from Britain in 1916. Mm-hmm. But up to date, Nigerian lawyers are still dressing as if maybe they are colony of the British. No, the question is, are we afraid to detach ourselves from the remnants of the British system, or do we even have our own legal system, or we are basically replicating the system that they have left behind? Is my curiosity.
That's a very good question, and to be, personally, I honestly do not think that the situation is that we are afraid to detach ourselves from the British system. And the reason I say I do not think that is, I don't see the basis. Of course, as the former colonizer, Britain, just like France does to their own people, tries to exert certain influences over us. But it's left for us to say, yeah, we'll allow you to do this, or we'll agree to do this, because we are fully independent. And if we say we want to go our own way, I don't think that Britain can make us stop. So that's number one. Number two, I think that the real reason is, you got to understand, look, if I grow up seeing that it's okay to do certain things, and I see that doing it that way benefits me personally, it's going to be difficult for me to now want to change it for my younger brothers or sisters. So, assuming that I'm a lawyer in Nigeria now, and I have spent 15 years waiting to become a senior lawyer, and then I become a senior lawyer, and I'm able to sit in a certain place in court, have my cases called first, have certain things done to me, have certain, junior people carry my bag. Human beings being what we are, I think it's difficult for me to say, hey, no matter how good I think, how kind I think I am, I'll be like, why are you changing it on my own watch? That's just human. That's just human. Human beings by virtue somehow tend to look after themselves first before everybody else. But that leads into something else. That really shows or leads us to why or where the Americans come to be the best in the world. Because for some reason, the Americans have come to embrace change as maybe nothing is bigger than change as far as they are concerned. That's my view. You look at so many things in this country that has changed. I remember when I came, so many things that I never thought. Okay, let's take the field of law now. Now Roe v. Wade, which is the abortion law, that for many years, there have been certain things said about that. This is the way it is for many years. But now, people are thinking of changing it. You see what I'm saying? Look at laws about marriage. For many years, when I came to this country, if anybody told me that as of today, that man would be able to marry man, woman would be able to marry woman, I would never agree that it will happen. But it happened. You see, good or bad, like it or not, the important thing is that the people felt like this is the direction that we need to go, and they are not afraid to do that. And yeah, of course, there are people amongst them who, in their own self-interest, would have liked to keep it the way they are. But ultimately, the majority won out. That's what's not happening in our system. I think that most times, those people who are benefiting from certain laws that are, in my view, are not necessarily wonderful laws, I think those people somehow, they win out. They beat out the other ones who are saying, hey, let's change this. But I think really it's time for Nigeria to look at the way things are and figure out, look, is this really working? Or must we continue doing these things? We need to start to demystify the law. The law is simply a profession. It's not different from the guy that works in the factory. Everybody is contributing to the society. First of all, we need to start rewriting laws so that we remove those big words, those legalese, write laws that people can understand, that my child can pick up and read and say, this is what the law says. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to say that ignorance of the law is no excuse. But then you go and write the law in such big words that the ordinary guy in the street will not understand. To me, it just doesn't make sense. If you say ignorance of the law is no excuse, then put the law to where everybody will understand.
Thank you very much for that. In fact, I think our audience, the Nigerian people, are going to appreciate that, because if you are making law for the people, you must speak in their level, in the way that they can understand. I know that we need the lawyer to go a little bit more in detail to understand this thing because they have studied it. But if the law is for the people, because if the law is only for the lawyer, then you can write it only for the lawyers to understand.
Exactly. But the law is for the people. It's for the people that you expect to obey the law, not the lawyers. It's the people. So, unless you are trying to set a trap for people, then you can go and say it in big language and stuff, because you don't want them to understand it, and you want to say, aha, you've broken the law. And when they come back and say, well, I didn't really understand it, then you tell them ignorance of the law is no excuse.
All right. Now, going to this argument again, because that discussion was really very important, no? the legal welfare, actually, we call it lawfare and warfare, as a tool to dispossess African people of the land. A simple example would be like the case of Zimbabwe, where the Zimbabwe people realized that their land were taken away by the British lawfully. They said, okay, now let's take back the land also lawfully. So they went and modified the constitution and took back the land. Then the British said, no, you cannot do that, but it is lawful. Because we never gave you the land in the first place. You took it legally. Now we are taking it legally. Now, if we get that concept, so the question is, how difficult really is it for maybe many African states to change their constitution in a way that it can favor them? Since currently as it stands, it appears that we are just like trying to appeal the system that have been there because it never really changed. So it's probably not going to change, like you also were saying, because if the people that are benefiting from it are those we are expecting to change the system, then it's never going to change.
First of all, you have to go back and understand certain concepts, at least in my view, certain concepts of life. Remember what I said about in life, everybody, it's kind of like to each his own. That's the first rule of life. And I don't care what people say. I don't care how much love somebody say they have for me. When push comes to shove, they are going to save themselves first before they save me. When push comes to shove, and I always tell people this, I say, look, you gotta be careful. Each time you ask somebody for advice, remember that the first thing that will go on in that person's mind is, if I give you this advice, will it jeopardize me? Yes, that's just because, look, no matter how much I love you, if you are asking me for an advice and I go through the process in my mind, this advice will jeopardize me, I'm not going to give it to you. It's
natural.
It's just a natural thing. So that's the number one thing that we all have to understand, that everybody will look out for themselves first before they look out for other people. Now, after that, we have to also understand the concept of the world. It doesn't matter what the world tells you. The fact is, resources are very limited, but the needs of various countries and various citizens are way more than the resources. Therefore, there has to be a struggle, always, even if it's a Cold War struggle, even if you call it an unspoken struggle, to grab as much as you can, not only for what you need today, but to keep for what you will need 100 years to come. Think of it as a market where you and I, we are selling books, okay? And there are like, let's say, 10 of us selling books, but there are only 5 customers. What do you think we will be doing? If you come to me and say for me to give you my secret for selling books, I will not give you. If I were going to give you, I'll give you something that will probably not work for you. To me, that's how countries behave to each other. That is how countries behave. And I always tell my fellow Africans, I said, look, we got to have that concept of Africans for Africa. Until we start to look at it that way, we will never succeed. We will never upgrade our people. Because always thinking that, oh, if push comes to shove, we can ask Britain to help us, or we can ask America. I've seen sometimes where there are let's say now, some government is abusing their people in Africa, and people are writing on Facebook, oh, where is America and this is happening? I'm like, America is where it is. America doesn't care about that. Yes.
Why should it?
America, and you know why America doesn't care? Because of what I said, there are limited resources, and very many demands. Therefore, if the particular thing you are complaining about has no bearing on the resources that America wants, America will never put itself, because they don't have all the time or all the resources to fight every war, and really they don't have the incentive. Why would they come and fight for you when they have their own problems? You see, so let's put it in context. These old laws, let's take the Zimbabwe scenario, for instance. When Britain got there, when the Dutch and all those people got there, they made laws to suit themselves. They made laws, they made the laws not only to care for their interests and for their needs as of today, but to care for their interests and their needs for 100 years to come, for 200, forever to come. You see what I'm saying? So, and you know, good or bad, I don't know. Sometimes people say, they are evil for doing it. But I always tell people, I say, if you were Britain, you would do the same thing. Let's face it. It's just a natural thing. Now, when we understand that, look, what they did is a natural thing, it's now left for us to do the other natural thing. The other natural thing is look out for ourselves. They are not going to like it. Yeah, the British people will not like it. Britain will not like it. In fact, the entire world may not even like it. But it is what it is. You have to look out for yourself. It's only after you've looked out for yourself, then you can then begin to say, okay, let me see what I can do for Britain. Let me see what I can do for America. So I think that to remedy the situation is really to do the same thing that Mugabe did. Look out for your people. Unfortunately, his people, some of his people and some Africans did not really understand what he was trying to do. And they turned against him. That's number one. But number two, you also have to understand that it's not that, it may not be that some of his people and some Africans did not really understand it. It may also be that there are certain forces that didn't want them to understand it and wanted them to reject it. And they failed to see that those forces were not working in their favor. And those forces, just like what I said about, you come to me and ask me for advice, and I figure out the advice will be against me. I'm not going to give you the right advice. So that's what our people fail to see sometimes. And our people also, just like you remember the late fella Anikulapo Kuti, God bless his soul, say that our people too, they fear. Our people too, they fear. Nobody wants to suffer today for the glories of tomorrow. You tell them that, oh, if we take this action, we probably may not eat 3 times a day for the next 100 days or something. They'd be like, wow, let's not take the action. That's part of, I think that's part of the problem. Our people too, they fear.
Anyway, I think what you are actually saying now is that we should live up to our responsibility as a people. Because the idea, I understand perfectly. In 2010, I wrote a book that I called Underdevelopment in Africa, My Hands Are Clean. Because I think that is how many Africans look at the issue, that, we are innocent. The Europeans came to Africa, they took away the people, we are innocent, we didn't do anything about it. There is corruption in Africa, the Europeans come and they do whatever they like, you can't hold them accountable. Well, I am innocent, I don't have the power. But the point is that if we continue to remain like that, it will always hurt us. We will always remain like babies, like children. You see, you were saying something very important shortly, no? That the US, maybe for example, something is going on in Nigeria, then the people of Nigeria are writing, where is the United States? Why should the United States go and intervene in? Don't you have a government? why should is it the role of the United States to intervene in Nigeria? Okay, now, I was asking a question when I was doing some of this interview with some people. In the case of the COVID-19 outbreak in Italy, for example, not only in Italy, the whole of the world, but it was also harsh here in Italy. Then I was saying, say, for example, the case was reversed, that it was very harsh in Africa. Will the African government not be shouting, hey, help us, we are dying, we are dying?
Exactly.
I said, now that this problem is in Europe, what is the Nigerian government going to do? What is the South African government going to do? Because we forget that this is a level playing field. Mm-hmm. You are a government, you are a president of a country, I am a president of a country. You have army, I have army. Why should I use my army to be protecting you?
I don't know. I don't know.
To pretend that we are children. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that you hit some important points. One is that perhaps either our government or our people don't necessarily understand the concept of sovereignty, or they understand it but just chose to ignore the consequences and implications of being a sovereignty. That's number one. The other important point you made has to do with accepting responsibility. And that is something that I see that I think is really, if you really want to ask why is Africa the way it is today, I think you have to start with, we have chosen to abdicate our individual responsibilities. I think that's really where, because you go down to, let's say you go down to the streets of Nigeria now, and you ask the gate man and say, what is the problem? Oh, it's the government. We have bad government. Oh, it's Buhari. We have bad Buhari. Oh, I say, okay. You go to the marketplace and you ask the market woman, what is the problem? Oh, is the government. You go to even some Africans in the diaspora, you go to them, you say, what is the problem? They say, oh, it's the government. And also don't forget that British people, they are messing with us, and America, they are messing, it's the white man, they are doing all these things to us. The China, they come there, they take out. And I say, oh, and I asked some of us in the diaspora, okay, what are you doing? You've come here, you've acquired some knowledge, you've acquired contacts. What are you doing to resolve the problem, to help our people? Nothing. Again, it goes back to the law of interest. Everybody is here trying to survive on their own first. That's number one. Number two is you go down to the people in, remember I talked about the gate man, the market woman and stuff. The point is that gate man that is saying there, the moment you come there and you say, hey, gate man, I need to see your boss. Once they look at you and they see you are well dressed and they see that whatever you want to see the boss for is important, they will try to find a way to extort something from you. My point, the problem is on everybody. If you say the government is corrupt, all of us, not just the government, all of us, I have the fault too. Let me tell you why. Because, sometimes people, we say, oh, we live in America. It doesn't. No, I have the fault because I said to myself, I know how many times I go down to do business in Africa, in Nigeria. I have an office in Abuja. But I also know how many times I've told myself, look, man, you got to give up on this. These people cannot be helped. You see, just by thinking like that, that's bad. You see what I'm saying? Because who are these people? These people are my people. Who do you expect to help these people? Britain? America? And unfortunately, that is the way most people, there are doctors in Nigerian doctors in the US. There are Nigerian doctors there in Italy. There are Nigerian nurses and all this stuff. Tell them to go down to Nigeria and work or something. They'll tell you, oh, these people, nothing works there. They'll just, annihilate me, everything, These people. So then, if we are not confident or comfortable enough to go and work among our people, who do we expect to do it? Americans, British people, So really, I think that when it comes to where the fault lies, all of us.
Thank you so much for that. That is very important. It is important that, because we, also in that book, I was making a reference of a very simple situation in Nigeria, in an analogy, Say, for example, if a road accident happened in Nigeria, in my village, for example, you will hear people say, maybe it's the witchcraft. Now I say, okay, now let's try to diagnose the problem. If you say it's a witchcraft, I am not a witchcraft, I'm not a witch, you are not a witch, the other person is not a witch. So who is going to be responsible? Nobody is a witch. But let's flip the argument around. Let's say that accident has happened because the road is bad. At least there can be a solution because we can fix the road. I think by the time we sell our power away, out of ignorance or so, thinking that it is he who is going to do it, it is then I'm innocent, I cannot do anything about it, then it go worse and worse and worse until we cannot even do anything anymore. But if we pretend that we have a stake in it, that we can do something about it, in the little angle that you are, start changing it in your own. You don't need to become the president of Nigeria to rectify, because the problem that we have is colossal, is so big. Because, for example, this is 2022. All the major significant countries in the world have a clear plan of where they are going. Okay, you go to Nigeria and try to see where we are going. You see, so the responsibility, sometimes it goes there, it comes here, but at the end of the day, all of us are part of it. Because it is a system, it's a machine. Maybe I am just that little boat. The machine needs me to function, even though it's a big machine. Because if we remove those little boats in it, then it becomes a shaft, it cannot work anymore. So I have a stake in it. So I'm sticking my name, my face here, talking about it, because I believe that I have a responsibility.
Yep. You're very right. You're very, very right, because the moment we say, oh, it's the other person's fault, oh, I'll leave it for the other person to fix, you can be sure that it will never be fixed. Because if you've ever tried to talk to government people in Africa, I can tell you that they will give you all good reasons why it's not their fault. I'm telling you, and they will give you a list of wonderful things that they've done. And in the end, they will tell you that it's the people. That the people are not appreciative, the people are not contributing, the people are not doing this, the people are not doing that, the people are not doing that. So everybody has an excuse to make. There was something that they started in Nigeria, and I don't know if it ever got traction. It's something called The Change Begins With Me. See, if people had just really put some thought into that, to think about it, then people will see how wonderful that is. The change begins with me. And also, as we say the change begins with me, let's also remind ourselves the sacrifice begins with me.
Also.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. The sacrifice begins with me. I see you are coming to my Oga to do business. I know that I can easily extort 5,000 naira from you as bribe before I open the door for you. I can make the sacrifice and say, okay, that 5,000 naira, I'm not going to extort it. I'm just going to let it go. The sacrifice begins with me. But the truth is that the guy who is going to open the door, the excuse he will give himself is, oh, my Oga is chopping. Why shouldn't I chop myself? This is the only way. After all, the salary they are paying me is small. And I always tell them, I said, the funny thing is, It's only when you are poor that you will have this mind that the salary is too small. I said, the moment you get to a certain stage, you see that money is never enough. It's never enough. So you have to remove your mindset from the fact that, oh, if they pay me 100,000, I will do a better job. That's not true. That's not true. Doing a better job depends on how you see your job, how you take responsibility and stuff like that. Because the moment they pay you 100,000, you see that you have more things that you need money for. And then you start saying, look, man, I really need to be making 150,000 in this job. This 100,000 is too small. So, and because I always hear people say, oh, do you know how much they are paying that woman? And you expect her to stand there for 8 hours and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it has nothing to do with money. It has something to do with who the woman is. If the woman is a certain type of person, she will know that, hey, this is my job. And even though this is this is the amount I'm making for now, I will continue to do my job until I decide not to do it again.
That is absolutely important. Thank you so much for that. It's about you. It's about the person.
Mm-hmm.
Because what if nobody is paying you? What if you are just doing it as a service to the nation, as a service to yourself, to your community, where nobody is paying you? What if you are just feeding a goat, which is not your own?
Mm-hmm.
After you feed the goat will go away.
Yep.
You can still do that.
Can still do that.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, in the beginning, we talked a little bit about restitution, service, going back home. And that brings us to the work that you are actually doing, because currently you are representing international businesses in Nigeria. Maybe we can spend some time there. Can you tell us more about that? I think some people want to understand what you actually do in Nigeria.
Okay, so not necessarily in Nigeria. My work, our firm, we work all over Africa and really other emerging countries. Like I said, the firm has grown beyond myself. The firm has grown into a partnership with different representatives in different places. There are two names there are two firms. There's one called Europlaw Group, then there's Menes Konsult. Both of them are really the same, involving the same people, with offices in Kenya, DRC, Nigeria, South Africa, of course, and representatives in almost every African country. So here's in a nutshell what we do. We are set out to try to do the difficult lifting that some lawyers from here may not necessarily want to take on. By that, I mean, we are Africans. We understand Africa better, but we also understand here better than any African. Therefore, we believe that we are in a better position to deliver good services that will not only benefit the companies from here and from Europe who are going to Africa to do business, but will also benefit and satisfy the need for Africa to do the right thing. Every time you ask a company from here to go down and do business in Africa, they'll say, oh, corruption. They'll say, oh, fraud. They'll say, oh, the community and all that stuff. Our job is to take care of all of those things. And the reason is because we understand both what the company from here needs to succeed, and we also understand what the community in Africa need in order to have good relations with the company that is coming to do stuff. Because sometimes, just like we are discussing, the community may see these companies as, hey, they are just coming to take our stuff. You see what I'm saying? So and to sometimes some companies come in there without really caring about the community. So by bridging the gap, we make sure that everybody is taken care of. The company from here, because we know, of course, there are some serious laws against corruption. There are some serious laws here against fraud and all those things. We make sure that we protect the companies when they go down to Africa to do business. Now, what that becomes is a win-win scenario, because what happens is when one company from here under us goes there and they succeed and they make money, they will come back and tell their story. And not only does that our client continue going back, they'll encourage other companies to go and do business. The reason why Africa has really suffered is because the moment one company gets down there to do business and they get burnt, they will never come back. And anytime somebody asks them from here, hey, what do you think about Nigeria? Or what do you think about Congo? They'll be like, don't go there. So, and that's the thing we are working to stop, because by making sure that we'll help you succeed, you will continue to come and you will bring other people. Our people will benefit, you will benefit, and we make sure that when we, for instance, let's say now a company from here is coming to Kenya to do a contract, and they ask us to help them put the contract together because we are representing them. We make sure that, okay, this contract not only favors them so that they can make money from their project, but we also make sure that the contract is also not oppressive to Africans, so that we make sure that the contract, Africans will get what the bargain that they are looking for. If we are looking for road, we make sure that Africans will get a quality road. If we are looking to make sure that we not only get road, but our people will be trained in maintenance of the road, we make sure we put those things in place so that in the end, Africa will benefit, the company will benefit, and the process can go on. So that's really what we do in a nutshell. Apart from that, we also have other programs, because I still personally believe that as Africa stands now, I think that a lot of help can come from Africans in the diaspora. I really think that a lot of help, because if you look at it, just like we've talked about, everybody back home thinks that it's not their problem. And good or bad, believe it or not, our people, because they have been doing things a certain way for many, many years, they have been seeing certain things for many, many years. There are people who have given up hope on the people that they see around them. There are people who have also given up hope on things being able to change. There are even some people who don't know that there is a different way. I recall there was a time one of my friends came here, and we stayed the first day, stayed the second day. After a week, he asked me, they've never taken light. What's going on? I said, well, they don't take light here. So unfortunately, because we have been seeing certain things for many years, there are people who don't even know that this could be better. There are people who don't know that giving somebody 5,000 naira bribe is a crime, just like giving somebody 1 million naira bribe. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's where I feel that we as Africans in the diaspora, having learned that there is a different way of doing things, we can go back and begin to train the young ones and begin to show them, begin to talk to them, begin to tell them how things are done here. So one of the programs that my firms try to do is to really recruit as much as possible the young ones and say, hey, you just graduated from the university or something. come be with us. Let's mentor you. If nothing, let's continue to talk to you about what is going on in the rest of the world. Because that's, to me, is part of the solution. Because if the young ones know that certain things that they are seeing in Nigeria are not good enough, then they will know when to speak up and say, hi, this thing you are doing is not good enough for us. Because it's not just about, because I remember I mentioned that our people too, they fear. Yeah, we too, they fear, but we have to even know wrong and good and bad before we can speak up. Assuming we get that courage to speak up, we have to say, okay, hey, yeah, this 5,000 naira bribe that you took is wrong. But I tell you now, for most people in most African countries, if they hear that you gave somebody 5,000 naira bribe and you are making noise about it, they'd be like, what is 5,000 naira? But it's not about the amount. It's about the fact that you had to give something to get something from a public servant. That's about what it is. So that our mentorship program is also important. We have other non-profit organizations. For instance, we have what we call Downtown Africa, which is a newspaper, an online magazine that we have, where our goal really is to publish every news that is good about Africa. I mean, that doesn't mean we are unaware of bad things about Africa, but we feel like CNN is already doing a good job on that. Al Jazeera is doing a good job. BBC, they are doing it. You know how they say I think things fall apart. They say, if the oracle says that my son will be killed, will be sacrificed, I will not stop the sacrifice, but I will not be the one to go and do the sacrifice. Yes, yeah, I will not stop the sacrifice because I know that this is what the oracle said, but I will not be the one to go and do it. I feel that some of our so-called publications back home, they are too much interested in broadcasting the bad side of Africa. And I'm like, there are many places in the US I can take you. You will not believe the junk you see. But you don't see those things every day on CNN. You don't hear about them on CNN and stuff. There are corrupt officials here, but you don't always hear about them on CNN International and stuff. So why should we be the one to always publicize our bad side? Basically hanging our dirty laundry in public. Why should we be the one to do that? If you do that, you have just guaranteed that nobody else will come to your house, because if they want to come, they are seeing all this dirty laundry that you've hung in front of you, and they'll be like, well, let's move on to somebody else. So our goal also is to tell the story of Africa from a different perspective. And that's what we try to do through the online magazine, which is downtownafrica.com. It's very simple. We just collect different stories of Africa and Africans that are doing well, and we just publish it. If there's a project that's going on in Kenya that is meant to help the people, we publish it. If there's a project that is training the people, we publish it. And we leave out the junk,
And that is interesting. That is really interesting, because at the end of the day, even the flow of information is something that is strictly controlled. That is the editorial line. You can choose what you want to report, no?
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you
yes.
you don't just have to copycat another media, another agency.
Mm-hmm.
You can decide that you want to be talking about only the good side of Africa. Why not? There are agencies here in Europe, what they already report about Africa is negative. If it's not negative, then it is not news.
Yep. Yep. You are very right. You are very right. And there's nothing wrong about choosing to publicize only stuff that you want to publicize, only stuff that goes with your worldview. I mean, that's what they do here. Fox News only publicize certain conservative stuff. There are other ones that publicize liberal stuff. So it's just a fact of life. You know, it's a fact of life. You tend to gravitate into what you believe. You believe that Africa should be better. You believe that despite the bad things about Africa, there are good things. Then you gravitate towards that.
Absolutely. Now, there is something I want to hang on with just shortly. When you were making mention of the business that you do in Africa in the sense of representation and all that, I find it very interesting in that you are standing in the line, try to you bridge the gap, no? Because you are from Africa. This is a company coming in from overseas, try to invest in Africa, do businesses in Africa. Then you sort of represent them from the point of view of the law, and then you try to also make sure that the interest of Africa is not overlooked. So what I'm trying to understand there is that now this company are the one paying you. So how are you able to represent them and also make sure you represent the local interest? I want you to spend more time there, explain that to me, because they will usually say, he who pays who plays the pipe dictates his tone, no? In that if I'm the one paying the bill, you should be representing me. So I'm trying to understand how those who pay you and those who do not give you anything, you manage to represent both of them almost equally. Please.
Well, that is you're right. He who pays the piper will dictate the tune. But you have to understand that there is no conflict. You know, the goal of the company that hires us to do business, their goal is to make profit. You understand? And their goal is not only to make profit, but to make long-term profit. Now, let me give you, for instance, an example. Imagine that you are the company and you say to me, Mr. Menes, I don't care about anything else. My goal is just to make profit. So go there, screw the people, screw them, and get me a bunch of money. So we go there, and we screw the people the first time. Now remember, it's people you are screwing. They are not foolish. You know, you screw them the first time. The second time you come back to screw them, they rise up against you. They destroy everything you have. They kill people. They kidnap people. Now, who do you think has lost? The company. You see what I'm saying? So there is no conflict. So when a company hires us, they know from the time. In fact, these companies will even tell you, say, look, Mr. Menes, I want to make money, but I also want to do good for Africa. I don't think that there is any company from here that will come to you and say, look, I want to make money in Africa, screw them, destroy their land, destroy their people, forget about them. They don't do that. You know, so the interests are all aligned. The question then becomes, how do we walk the fine line to see that these interests that are aligned, that we carry it out well, so that the community will not be overreaching and the company will not be overreaching, and we both understand each other. And how do we do that in a legal way? How do we legally do it? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to what the law allows you to do. Because if I go there, for instance, let's say now I own a company and I go to a community in Africa and I tell them, okay, look, guys, I'm going to come to your community. I'm going to take your oil. I'm going to take your gold. I'm going to do all these things. And in return, I will build houses for you. I'll build roads to reach to your community and all those things. If I say all that, but then I go back to my lawyers, I say, you see all those other things I said, don't put them down. So what has happened? It's a loss. So in the end, it really comes down to being able to to put it down legally so that what the community expects and what the company expects will become a legally binding stuff. And we are able to do that because for the most part, we speak the language of the community. There are things that if I go into Kenya, for instance, and they see me as a black guy, a black lawyer, an African, a fellow African, there are things the community chief will tell me that they may not know how to explain. It's not a matter of language. It's not a language barrier, but they just don't know how to tell it to the white guy who comes down there. And it may be just a cultural thing because, let's face it, in our culture, we don't like to be the bearer of bad news. And we don't, we like to be polite to everybody. That's the African culture. We like to be polite, even if you are telling me things that I know you shouldn't tell me. But we just like to be polite. After all, you are a visitor. We don't want to speak of certain things. But when I come in, they'll tell me, they'll say, hey, that thing your client is saying will not work. Tell him, find a way to tell him, we know you can speak to him. See where we do better than other people.
All right. Now, Mr. Anthony, you see, you remember the case of Ogoni people very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the pollution there that was caused by the European, or let's say the Western multinational oil exploration in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before I just want you to have that one in mind. Now, let me say another thing. I was interviewing a lady in UK who deals also on international business. In this time, we were talking about contracting, international contracting, looking at some of the contracts that have been signed by African leaders. In that, do the people really understand the nitty-gritty of this contract that they sign sometimes? Because now we are talking about the law. Because if you don't understand the law very well, then you can become a victim of it very easily, because it's just a question of saying few things that under it there are layers of meaning which you didn't understand.
First of all, the what you have said underscores the need for firms and like us and professionals like us who do what we do. It also underscores to a greater extent the need for Africans in the diaspora to have more involvement in their communities. Because apart from being a lawyer, even if I'm not a lawyer, if a US company is going to my community to do stuff, do a contract, and if I'm involved in my community, hopefully the chief of the community will say, hey, our son, we know you live in the US. This company is coming to do stuff for us. Can you take a look at what they are telling us? Is this, even without being a lawyer, having stayed here for long enough, I would have something to say. So to a greater extent, it underscores why our people here should stand as hope for our people back there. That's it. The second one is, it's not easy, you're right, for us as lawyers who are coming from here to navigate those things. Because, like you said, there is already mistrust on both sides. The European or the foreign companies that have come to our place in the past have really, some of them have messed up. On the other hand, there are also some foreign companies that have come to our place that have been messed up themselves. So the distrust is on both sides. And that's where I say that what we do is a special thing. It's not just law. You have to combine law with other things to be able to convince both sides that, hey, and what I normally say to foreign companies sometimes, because sometimes when we have our first meeting, they're like, well, look, you know, why should I even go do business in this place, blah, blah, blah. I say you should do business with them because we will be with you to the end. And then when I go to our community and they say, well, how are you sure that they won't do us like this? I say, they will not do so because we will be in the deal to the end. Because we know both sides and we have talked to them about doing the right thing. And we are here to make sure that they not only agree to do the right thing, but that we put that right thing in the legal papers so that even if Jude Menes dies tomorrow, anybody who picks up the legal paper can look at it and say, hey, this is what everybody, both sides say they will do. You see, so that's really the key thing. The key thing is really being able to navigate both sides. And when you talk about some of the foreign companies in the past that have messed up our people, you know, it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, but we have to also put it in perspective. The world is evolving. You know, some of those companies got to our place at a time when the world was in a different place. For instance, okay, you talked about the Zimbabwe issue. I don't think that the deal that was made about land before their independence, I don't think that that deal could have been made if the people were already independent. You see what I'm saying? They wouldn't have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they wouldn't have made that deal. So
there would be blood rolling.
Yeah, the world has changed, and the world is changing. That's number one. At the time, some of these companies we are talking about who got to our people and messed them up, there were probably very few Africans here, for instance, in the US or in Europe, who studied law, who is able to go and say, hey, we can represent, we can do both sides. The world is changing. And the world is also waking up to the fact that it's not just about making profit. That just like I think Bob Marley said, you can fool some people sometime, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. You can come the first time and say, hey, I hear that you guys got gold. I will help you, and you screw them and you take the gold. The next time you come back and say, hey, I hear that you guys got diamond, I will help you. They've learned their lesson. They may say, okay, come. The moment you come, they will seize all your property, seize everything. So the world has changed. You know, it's not just capitalism as it used to be. I think in a way you have to tamper capitalism with some type of social benefit to the people. I think that's where the world is going now.
We are looking for that benefit, particularly in Africa, no? And I want to believe that the people really are learning because a lot is still happening. Mm-hmm. But on that, I will have a question for you. In that now, since we are talking about law representing these big multinationals, I don't know how big they are, the one that you represent, but at least those that are operating in Africa, they're really big multinationals coming from US and Europe, mm-hmm. and the rest of them. They have the power, so they can buy anyone they want to buy. Mm-hmm. So, say this company enters into agreement with a company, I don't know, in the East country, let's say in Ghana, Nigeria, mm-hmm. it can be in Congo, mm-hmm. and they say, okay, this is what we are going to do. When they don't do it, when they don't respect their part, mm-hmm. what happens?
Again, that comes to where we get involved. Because there are two dynamics to the thing. First of all, the person who is quote unquote the helper, meaning Africans in diaspora, have to be ready to help. The helpee, so to say, has to also be ready to be helped. You see what I'm saying? So in as much as I know in that kind of scenario you gave, that we will step up and do the right thing, our people back home have to also step up and do the right thing. So if they want to continue a situation where you are able to bribe the judges or bribe the police and all that stuff, then things will never work. Like I said, it takes two to tango. The helper has to be willing to help. The helpee has to be willing to do what's needed for the help to work. So it's not an easy scenario to resolve, because I think what you're saying is, okay, what if something goes wrong and this foreign company just says, oh, we can just go down there and bribe the heck out of everybody? Unfortunately, if our people, especially when we come in and say, look, chief of police, this is what the agreement says, this is what needs to be done, and the chief of police still says, oh, I don't care what you guys say. Unfortunately, if that's the situation, then I'll say, Africa, we have a problem. Yeah, we have a big problem, because it's going to take us hundreds and hundreds of years. But let's look at it another way. That is what people like yourself, that is what you are doing. You are trying through your podcast to educate our people, to let people know that, look, we have a problem, but our problem can be solved. And our problem can be solved. These are the ways to solve it. So even if you don't change the mind of the chief of police, hopefully by your podcast, you are able to tell the young ones that, look, what they are seeing the chief of police do is wrong. Therefore, don't always accept what the chief of police is doing. Or, therefore, when you become chief of police yourself, don't do what the chief of police is doing. Somebody's got to tell them, and it's got to start somewhere. So that's why I don't, when you talk to me about your podcast and I see what you do, I tell myself, well, yeah, maybe Africa is long ways off from solving their problems, but there is hope. Because you look at your podcast, through your podcast, there is hope. Just imagine if 10 Africans from 10 different European countries do what you do. Just imagine what will happen. The word will be going out. People will be saying, hey, we listen to this guy. They say, oh, is it Obehi? No, it's not Obehi. It's Emeka. Oh, we listen to Emeka. Oh, wow, what Emeka is saying is pretty much the same thing I had Obehi say. You see what I'm saying? It begins to take root. So we shouldn't give up. Well, I know that some of our people have given up. Even back home, people give up. But, hey, the only person that you should give up on is a dead person. You cannot give up. Yeah, if you want to give up, then you might as well say, let us all take something and die. But we cannot do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I believe in Nigeria. I believe in us. I believe that we're able to change the situation. I believe so much in it. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, looking again from the point of view of law and business, because that is where we are actually tackling this episode today. Where are Africans requesting more intervention in terms of business?
Two areas. One is, of course, no good idea or no good concept can be executed without funds. And unfortunately, funding on funds, that's something that our people don't necessarily have. Our credit systems are not the way it should be. Our ways of making money and generating money are not the way it should be. Plus, the big money is not being controlled by Africa. So let's face it, funds, that's number one. But beyond funds, training is also very important because our people have to begin to understand how the world works. And our people have to an extent, understand that if you want to get money from the big guys outside Africa, you have to learn how the big guys work. I have many times, I have, because part of what people do is they bring projects to us and say, hey, can you help us find the funding? Or they say, oh, this government, so they want to build this road. And then the person that brought it will be like, well, let them know how business is done in Africa. I say, no, there is nothing like how business is done in Africa. Business is business everywhere. You know, and besides, you cannot be trying to get money from America and you are telling them to do it, to give you the money your own way. No, I said you have to, you know, and then sometimes people will just go and they'll come to you and they say, oh, you can you find money for us? We want to build this thing. And I say, okay, where do you want to build it? They say in their village. I say, okay, what do you want to build? They give you one big, wonderful thing. I say, okay, that's fine. I say, how much will it cost? They say 100 million. I say, okay, fine. How much do you have yourself to put into it? Nothing. Find us somebody who will give us the 100 million. We will use part of it to buy the land. I said, if you were the person, would you do that? It says, so, and in their mind, they didn't realize that what they are asking is not the right thing or the right way. So you have to educate them. I asked them, and they said, if you, assuming now that okay, so you are a Nigerian, and I tell you now this story that you just told me, but I say, flip it, it's in Zimbabwe. Would you go do that deal? They said, no. I said, then, you see, before you ask somebody to come and put $10 into your place, be ready to put at least $1. So to me, it's also, yeah, so the two things we really need is, apart from the fact that we need, that funds are needed, we do need to educate ourselves better in terms of what it takes to attract somebody who lives 6,000 miles away in the US to come and do business in your village. You have to know the right things to say to the person, the right documents to put in front of the person, and the right resources to make available to the person. Because otherwise, no matter how wonderful your concept is, it will just remain an idea and it will never move forward.
Thank you so much for that. I think this one sort of ties in perfectly to the conversation we were having before of the responsibility of being open, being mature. No? In that you can't say, let's do it, let's know how business is done here. Like you said, business is business anyway. You go to China, it's the same.
Yep.
The Japanese are coming in, it's the same.
Yep.
What are you putting in that are going to add to? If I give you this, what are you going to give me back? There is no Father Christmas anywhere.
No.
If
capitalism.
They are not giving you money without anything, know that they are going to take more from you, maybe even you included.
Yep. So, yep. They'll take you, they'll take your family, and they'll even take generations to come. They say, okay, look, for the next 100 years, any child that is born in your village belongs to us.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay,
all right, now we've really talked about a lot of electricity in this conversation, and I really find a lot of sense in it, a lot of education in it. How can people connect with you? That is very important. How can they connect with you?
It's very easy. You can always. I'm very open with my contact information. You can always share my number 214 plus 1-214-335-6011, and then my email is menes@com. You can share it to your, I'm always open with that. It's not a pro. Some people say, oh, don't share your personal information. I'm like, For what? What are they going to do? You know? I said, oh yeah. I said, no. It's you know, you have to understand that the kind of stuff we do, like I said, is not just about money. It's trying to redefine capitalism so that it makes sense. So you have to change certain things so that people can reach you, because there are a lot of people, you know, a lot of people may need to get to you, but unless they know you are open, they may find it difficult. So that's about it. Those are the only, except LinkedIn, where if you just go to Jude Menes, you'll find me. But these are the only ways I have, you know, those are my social stuff. Yeah.
All right. Now, what will be your last statement to conclude the conversation?
Well, you know, when you said that, I was thinking, what should I really say? I think that you have covered almost everything. My conclusion would be that, because I know how it is. Like I said, many times I have come close to quitting, but I keep going. So I said to you that I know many times you will come close to quitting. There are people that will not understand what you do. There are people that will hear you and misunderstand you, or people that will see your podcast and say, oh, he's just trying to be relevant. And that will demoralize you and make you, I say, don't worry about those things. Just like I told you, I came back from Africa, and I got this serious allergy. I was sick for like a month plus. I mean, that was very discouraging to me. And just like, earlier you were talking about witches and witchcrafts. If I were a regular guy in Africa, I would think that somebody did something to me, because I'm telling you, I had no idea where that came from. It's like one day I was fine, the other day I was breaking out like crazy. But and those kind of things will make you want to quit. And I'm not saying this to myself, really. I'm really saying this to you and other people like yourself who have seen that there is hope. Because for you to be doing this, you must have believed that there is hope. If you believe that the African situation is hopeless, you wouldn't be doing this. So for you to even pick up the phone and call somebody and say, let's talk Africa, it's because you believe there's hope. So I'm saying to you and other people like you who believe that there is hope, don't give up. There is hope. I strongly believe there is hope. And many times, in as much as you will be demoralized, you are putting your money, your resources, and you are not making any money, and you are doing all these things, I will still say, don't give up. You understand? Just keep doing what you are doing. People may not nobody will ever come to you and thank you, but it doesn't matter. The important thing is that within you, you know what you are doing. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So don't expect any thanks from anybody. Again, our people. We are some of the most proud people on earth. I doubt that anybody will even call you and say, "Hey, I saw your podcast. Thank you for that." No, they will not do that. Instead, they will try to pick it apart and find out what you did wrong and don't worry about it. Just know that there are people who believe in Africa just like you, and we know what you are doing. Just keep on doing what you are doing. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. It has been a pleasure on my part.
Same here, my brother. You take care. Eh? Okay, bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewanfo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.